Oh, there you go. Yes. Thank you, Allison. You are awesome. All right. So since we're going to get into the nitty gritty of it, I do want to just remind you guys that the first thing we're going to be talking about today is we're going to hear a little bit from EPA on some very fascinating greenhouse gas stuff, I'm assured. So Rhonda Wright hooked us up with Jennifer Caparoso. I know she's on as well. And I think she just wanted to give a quick update. So before we get into talking about, this maybe kind of scary semi-facilitated open discussion that we're going to have at the end of it, Jennifer, do you want to go ahead and take the floor? And if you want to chat with all of us, I think we're ready and eager to listen.
Yes.
And you're upside down for me. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
I have noticed that. So let me work on that. But
that's fine.
Yes, good afternoon. In 2015, EPA set standards to limit carbon dioxide emissions from electric generating units. And the standards of performance for greenhouse gas emissions for electric generating units are in 40 CFR Part 60 subpart TTTT, that's 4 T's. And these standards apply to new units or existing units that meet conditions for being modified or reconstructed. These standards were established for stationary combustion turbines that generally fire natural gas and electric utility steam generating units that generally fire coal. The standards reflect the degree of emission limitation achievable through the application of the best system of emission reduction that EPA determined has been adequately demonstrated for each type of unit. For stationary combustion turbines that fire natural gas, the new and reconstructed emission limit for base load combustion turbines, which apply to all sizes, is 1,000 pounds of carbon dioxide per megawatt hour on a gross output basis. And the non-baseload unit must meet a clean fuels input base standard. For electric utility steam generating units that generally fire coal, for new units, it requires a highly efficient supercritical pulverized coal unit with partial carbon capture and storage. And the emission limit is 1,400 pounds of carbon dioxide per megawatt hour on a gross output basis. For a large modification, which is an increase of hourly carbon dioxide emissions of more than 10% relative to the emissions of the most recent 5 years, the emission limit is in pounds of carbon dioxide per megawatt hour on a gross output basis and is consistent with the best historical annual performance during the years from 2002 to the time of modification. For reconstructed units with heat input greater than 2,000 million British thermal units BTU per hour, the emission limit is 1,800 pounds of carbon dioxide per megawatt hour on a gross output basis. And units with heat input less than 2,000 million BTU per hour, the emission limit is 2,000 pounds of carbon dioxide per megawatt hour on a gross output basis. EPA is currently reviewing the 2015 New Source Performance Standards, also known as the NSPS, for new reconstructed and modified EGUs, and may propose amendments to limits for greenhouse gas emissions under Clean Air Act Section 111B. And the focus is on the emission standards for combustion turbines. And yesterday, EPA announced that we are inviting small businesses, governments, and not-for-profit organizations to participate as small entity representatives for a potential small business advocacy review panel that will focus on the proposed amendments to the NSPS for EGUs. EPA seeks self-nominations directly from small entities that may be subject to the rule requirements. Other representatives, such as trade organizations that exclusively or at least primarily represent potentially regulated small entities, may also serve as small entity representatives. Self-nominations may be submitted through the EPA webpage and must be received by August 29th. Are there any questions?
So Jennifer, thank you for sharing that. It was a lot of details. I probably should have read through things a little bit closer before we chatted, because I'm not sure I was keeping up. But one of the things I did want to ask is, do you guys have any idea how many entities or units, I guess either units or companies, may be affected by this rule? Just in general, was that something that you guys looked into?
So we are still evaluating that, and then keeping in mind that it is for also news sources. Mm-hmm. So it's, projecting what may be on future. So we are looking at historical information to potentially project those units.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? I know from my experience working in our feed program that most of our EGUs are not small businesses in Michigan, but I don't know if other states have other experience, and there may be companies that you've worked with that you could recommend self-submit through EPA's website. I know it's not that long of a period of time. It's only a little over a week or a week and a half to go. Just want to give everybody a second to kind of think about that and think about if you have any other questions on it. Is there a fact sheet associated with this kind of change yet, or no?
No.
Okay.
Jennifer, we would probably will have a fact sheet after the rule is proposed.
Okay.
And it was final, but not at this stage.
Okay, thanks, Rhonda. I just was thinking because, if especially when we have small businesses that might be impacted by something like this, because it is kind of a more complicated rule and potential rule changes, to get them involved in the discussion, having something that's kind of high level that could encourage them to participate might be helpful. Just for future, I guess. So I don't see anybody else raising their hand or chiming in. I mean, we usually just talk over each other in this group a lot of times. So I don't hear anybody chiming in or raising their hand to add anything. So do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add, or anything else you want to sort of leave us with on this?
Jennifer, EPA, I'm not sure if you have any next steps, but for right now, what we wanted to do was just give you a heads up and let you know what's coming down the road, give you some things to think about.
Sure.
As we get more information, as always, I will share that information via email once things become public. But like I said, we are in the pre-proposal stage. So our goal, we have some ideas of thinking that some small businesses may be of interest with this rulemaking. Yep. And so we want to bring it to your attention, but as we get more information that we're able to share, we'll definitely share that. I will send those emails out and keep you posted.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything else before we move on?
Thank you, Rhonda, for bringing this to our attention. Mm-hmm. And also thank you, Jennifer. Again, I believe it's pronounced Caparoso. If I mispronounce it, I apologize. But
yes, Caparoso. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time to share with us your knowledge.
And if anything arises between now and before you hear anything from EPA regarding this rulemaking, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me directly, and I'll make sure I reach out to either Jennifer or the rule lead regarding your concerns or questions.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Rhonda. We always appreciate you participating in this. And I think this partnership that we have going on now is really good for both of us, all of us, not both of us, not just me and you, but everyone.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And you guys are more than welcome to stay on for the rest of the